A midwestern town in southern Indiana, surrounded by fields of grass, gentle rolling hills, flowers, wild flowers, forests, insects, and you cannot forget those onions. However, where there are insects, there have to be birds. We've set out on an exploration to identify birds in our neighborhood. Once you start paying attention, the birds are a lot more common than you think. Our investigation has taken us around a marsh, into the trees, and along the sidewalks to learn about robins, cardinals, red-winged blackbirds, finches. I'm not going to spoil the rest, don't worry. Now, for the first time, we will associate the calls of the birds of southern Indiana to photographs of the birds in their natural habitat. I mean, it's the first time we have done it. I'm sure other people have too. The first bird that we spotted was a very common. In our time documenting the birds, we saw an average of 44 robins for every other bird. That is just crazy to me. Robins eat 14 feet of worms a day. I find that crazy. However, there are 127 billion worms for every human, or around there. So, that is a pretty massive amount. So we won't be running out of worms anytime soon. Now, as you can see, there is a photo of a robin right up here. And as you can also see, it has a couple white eye lines. White lines around its eyes, splotches of white. You can see their iconic orangish red chest that probably, I think, identifies most of them. And the call of a robin. The next bird is the state bird of Indiana and Illinois and Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, and West Virginia. That is a lot of states. That is actually the record. Now, this bird is none other than the cardinal. I just want to point out that all of these states with the cardinal as their state bird also have their borders right next to each other. They're all connected. So, that is interesting. The identifying trait of a cardinal is its vibrant red feathers that just cover it. Like, you can be walking casually. Then you'll see the most vibrant red you've ever seen. You'll look at it, obviously, and you'll see a bird. I doubt that's the first thing you'd expect. I bet you would expect it's like a car or something, but no, it's a bird. And its call, well, here's its call. The red-winged blackbird gives a striking color with its tufts of red and yellow on its really dark black body. Like, it can have, you can clearly see it. Its wings are nearly the color of a cardinal. They could become a cardinal if their entire body was their wings. They were the very hardest bird to get a photograph of. I must have spent like 3 hours minimum trying to get this one type of bird. It's like it had raw caffeine to start off the day, every day. Enough to kill a human. I'm positive that they just have a coffee bar somewhere in their marsh. A marsh is where they most commonly live. And this is what their call sounds like. Before writing this, we confused the grackle and the crow so very much. It's crazy. There was a photo that we had that we thought was a really good crow. It was a grackle. You can't blame us. Look how subtle that blue is. When we cropped it, we just realized, oh, why is that blue? Turns out, the grackle has a very subtle blue. Try saying grackle 10 times fast. As I was saying, the grackle is a bird that lives on average 17 years long, which is longer than the raven. There are 11 different species of grackle. On average, the grackle is 1 foot tall and has a 1 foot 2 inch wide wingspan. So, as you can see in the photo above, we have a plague of grackles. Yes, that is what a group of grackles is called, a plague. Why do crows and ravens and grackles all have such depressing names? Like, they're beautiful. Why do they have such depressing names? The next bird of interest is very small and probably close to as hyper as a red-winged blackbird. Not quite as much, but it is very hyper. It is the house finch. Now, the house finch, I'm sure you've seen them, looks like a sparrow in the body, and a darker cardinal with sparrow patterns on its head. It is very incredibly tiny, probably the tiniest bird we've photographed. And it is, you would not be able to see it if not for its red head. We also found the goldfinch, a neon yellow bird with a more rapid call than a normal house finch. It has a black head on it. It has black on its head and wings and is probably one of my favorite birds. I mean, it's just so bright, and it's impressive how they could get that bright. We also saw the turtle doves, as you can see above. They're quite gray and sort of bland. However, it does make one of the most recognizable songs in the bird world, in my opinion. It does make the sound. Its throat expands visibly. It is impressive to see how big they can get with their throat expanded. We also found a downy woodpecker, the most common woodpecker in Indiana. When it hits the tree, it does it 15 times a second, compared to the average woodpecker, or a speed of 25 hits a second. It can have red on its head, but it might not. The one that we saw did not have red on its head. And it does have white splotches on its wings. Its belly is completely white. Its wings are black and white. We next found the sparrow, which looks a lot like a female house finch. I have mistaken a female house finch with a sparrow many, many times. The only defining feature that I have been able to find between the sparrow and the female house finch is some white splotches around its eyes. If anyone watching this knows how to define a sparrow from a house finch, I would appreciate it if you tell me. I'm kind of curious. And then we have the eastern bluebird. We only saw this bird twice, and one of the times we did not have our camera. I was quite sad when we missed out on that opportunity. So as you can see, the eastern bluebird has orange on its belly and can have some white underneath, kind of like a robin with the orange on its belly. It has a pretty bright blue back, and I think it's brighter than a blue jay. It has a very hard to describe call. It's I don't know how to describe it. You can look it up after watching this video. Next, there is the blue jay, and this took so dang long to get this photo of, and it was taken while we were in our backyard, and it was in a forest. Once you do see one, and it do not have a dead camera though, it stays very still and photogenic, and it is easy to get a photo of once you find one. But finding one around our neighborhood is so hard. It was the last bird we took a photo of. We got a red-winged blackbird with the red before we got this guy. It's crazy. This guy is harder to find than it is to get a photo of one of those caffeine monsters. Now, after all those, I hope to have convinced you about how amazing the birds of Indiana are.